He has joined as a principal at Government Polytechnic Nanded in the year 2018 and has given expert lectures in various institutes and various platforms, especially on topics related to uh, computing. He's a great educationist and has written many technical articles and has been leading our government polytechnic from past 4 years. May I request Honorable Dr. Garje sir to begin his session on National Education Policy 2020. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon to all of you. I hope I am audible and you can see the PPTs also.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So good afternoon to all of you. Sorry for delay. There was some technical difficulty. So I have to shift this place from my cabin to mechanical department. So anyway, today we are going to discuss the National Education Policy 2020. Really speaking, I'm not the expert in this, but whatever information I collected from different sources, because this policy is in early state as on today, and may start implementing from lower classes to the higher classes. So when it will maybe it will come to higher education or our education, it will take a few years for the implementation. There was a sorry. So this is just an overview of NEP to 2020. How the evaluation has been taken place, I think just I will put in front of you. These were some university education commissions, first, second, education, fourth, and the last national policy on education, NEP, that was in 96. And that has been modified in 1992. Since then, there is no any other education policy. So now, after 92, there is a education policy in 2020. And this has been, there was a committee headed by Kasturi Rangan, and they have submitted the report, and that policy implementation will start soon. So how they come up with this national education policy? So there was a lot of consultation with different entities in India and across the globe also. So this you can find online on mygovernment.in. So nearly 2.5 lakhs of gram panchayats, 6,600 blocks, approximately 6,000 urban local bodies, 676 districts have been covered. The consultations these people have done with different people, different entities. The draft has been submitted in 1990, and the summary of this particular draft is made available in all 22 languages.
गर्जे सर
हा,
एक थोडासा पॉज घेता का? पुढची
yes,
स्लाइड दिसत नाहीये तुमची.
okay. What are the
Okay.
steps?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So I will continue. So the draft summary is made available in 22 languages, which are listed uh, in our government official languages. Education dialogue with different MPs, especially from Andhra Pradesh, Kerala, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Pondicherry, Puducherry, you can say Karnataka and Odisha has been made. Special meetings of CABE, that is Central Advisory Board of Education, that is held in 1990, that is September 19. And then there is a parliamentary standing committee on HRD. So this report is submitted to this parliamentary standing committee in September 1990. Next PPT is visible.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, okay. So what are the major reforms suggested by this particular committee of Kasturi Rangan or NEP to 2020? 50% gross enrollment, that is called as the GER, by 2035, that is expected. If you see today's GER, it may be around 20%, right? So holistic and multidisciplinary education, especially if you see the education system today, it could be maybe a diploma education, degree education, postgraduate, and so on. You will find there are very the compartments have been made. So if you are taking education in one branch of engineering, you are not having any flexibility to study some of the subjects of other branch of engineering, and so on. So this is, I'm talking about engineering, but this is true in other education streams also, maybe arts, commerce, science. So there is very less flexibility. Some of the universities try to bring limited flexibility, but this particular NEP suggests that there should be a lot of flexibility. And one person studying in a particular branch should be able to study some of the subjects of other branch if he or she desire. So there is a multiple entry and exit. This is very important to move. Now, at present, there are no multiple entries and there are no multiple exits. Multiple entry and multiple exit means if somebody is studying engineering, studied some maybe 1 or 2 years, acquired some skill sets and competency, and due to certain reasons somebody exits from the education. So we are not saying he has become engineer, or basically he is a left out, right? So there could be some sort of certificate would be provided to you, so that can be used for your future. It can fetch maybe a job to you, or it can be useful for any other purpose. So I think that is very important. UG program 3 or 4 years, I think that was in previous, at present it is true. PG program 1 or 2 years. At present we have PG of 2 years only. There is no any PG program except education, means MPed or BEd. That is, I think it's a 1 year. There could be integrated 5-year bachelor's and master's degree that is already implemented in some of the universities in India, and there won't be any MPhil henceforth. Means whenever this particular NEP will be implemented, so that has been discontinued. MPhil is discontinued. There would be a credit bank, important things, because it would be a credit based education. And why it should be a credit based? Because whenever our students are going abroad, so in abroad, most of the university, it could be USA, it could be European countries, go anywhere, you will find it is a credit based education. And when our student, can there be a maybe a mixed type of education system? Say, for example, I am doing maybe a graduation in engineering, and I am doing 2 years or 3 years engineering here, and I wanted to go to abroad university and wanted to pursue one remaining 1 year in abroad university. At present, it is not possible. Some of the universities tried, but they couldn't do it because universities were not using credit system. So ultimately, it was very difficult to transfer the credit to other universities across the globe. So that will become easy. Maybe few year, half of the education our students can take here and remaining there, or vice versa, could be possible due to this credit transfer. One more, due to this credit academic bank of credit. So there would be a pool of subjects. A lot of subjects would be available, and from that pool of subjects, student can select some of the subjects. So that is basically a bank of credits. Every subject will have a specific number of credits, and every degree will have a specific number of credits student have to complete. So they can select the subjects. Every subject will have certain credits. So count the credit and you have to complete. Say, for example, engineering 160 credits. AICT suggests that it should be 160 to 170. So accordingly, I think people could be. We have maybe at present we have elective subjects, but again that is very limited flexibility we people are having. And this elective subject could be of that particular branch only. We do not have any flexibility as on today. We can have some subjects of other branch, or maybe say, for example, it could be some economics should be studied by engineering students, or it could be insurance should be studied by our students. Because when our students are passing, say, computer, IT, or maybe other branches, most of our students are getting absorbed or getting jobs in software industries. And when they actually develop a software, they have to develop software in different domains. It could be a banking, it could be insurance, it could be automobile, and they do not have maybe a sufficient knowledge of a domain. So ultimately, companies have to deploy some domain expert along with the developers, which will ultimately increase the cost of the projects. So if the developer is having a domain knowledge, it will be always better. And that's why I think this pool of subjects or pool of credits, bank of credits is going to help to the students. So they will have more freedom. Higher education institutes, so research intensive, teaching intensive universities and autonomous degree granting colleges needs to be started, or whatever colleges presently we have, that can be converted into research intensive or teaching intensive universities. Model disciplinary education and research university is going to be established. There could be many. The plan is in every university there should be such, in every district there should be such university. It will take time, but I think that is the plan. Graded autonomy, I think you might be aware of the autonomy. The people who have joined this particular course. Some of the participants might be from autonomous autonomous institution. So there would be more emphasis on the autonomy. More and more institutes will get the autonomy, and it would be graded autonomy. Of course, at present also we have a graded autonomy. So academic, administrative, and financial, all three sorts of autonomy would be there. Uh, Phasing out affiliation system in next 15 years. We have at present affiliation system if we are uh, teaching in, say, for example, diploma engine or diploma college, then all majority of the diploma colleges are affiliated to MSBT, and maybe other engineering colleges and other colleges, they are affiliated to particular university. And then all these universities are affiliated to UGC, and technical institutes are affiliated again to the EICT. So this affiliation, I think they are going to phase out. There may not be affiliation, but there could be certain control, but that would be in the other form. There would be a national mission on mentoring. They are going to establish it. Independent board of governors. When you are talking about maybe autonomous institution, so this BO is mandatory. Single regulator. When this affiliation is phased out, so there won't be multiple bodies. At present, we have MSBT or university, then the DP, then EICT or UGC. Somebody's mic is on. Okay.
Yeah.
So online disclosure based transparent system for approvals is going to be in place. There won't be any inspections at present. What we are saying, those are inspections. Whenever some committee is coming to our college, we are saying it is an inspection committee. So basically, you have to upload the information in a specific format. At present, also EICT is doing some of the things like this. Say, for example, if you are NBA accredited for 3 years, then you can just send the information to them in a given format, and you will get a accreditation for 1 more year. So I think that sort of system would be in place for all sorts of education. Common norms for public and private higher education institutes. So there would be a private philanthropic partnership and fee fixation within board regulatory framework. At present also there is a fee regulatory boards in Maharashtra also. So they are fixing the fees of private institutions especially. And there could be a public investment in the education sector, and it has to reach to 6% of the GDP at the earliest. What is the GDP? What is the spending of GOI, Government of Maharashtra, in education at present? Compared to GDP, it is 3. In 2021, it was 3.1. So almost it is to be doubled in near future. So unless and until there is more spending on education, whatever this NAP suggests or the quality is to be improved, that may not be possible. National Research Foundation, NRF, that is going to be established. Then there should be an internationalization of the education. At present, people are trying, there are lots of universities, maybe some private universities, some of the premier institutes, they are trying to become international institute or institute of international repute. So why not, whatever the education starting from maybe a lower standards to maybe up to the ESD. Why not there should be internationalization of all this education. So that is going to happen, or that is suggested rather. Integration of vocational, teacher, and professional education. I think that is very vocational education. There would be more emphasis. If you go to this particular PPT, you will find inclusion of vocational education in the mainstream of our education system. It is saying education system. So it could be professional education or it could be traditional education. In every education, there would be uh, vocational education, some part of the vocational education. And why so? Because uh, there is a need to develop the skill sets so that our students will get more jobs, and we should not be only produce the students uh, who will get the jobs, job oriented education. Rather, we should be able to produce the student who would be entrepreneurs, or maybe they can do good research. I think that is one of the most important aspects. Research aspect is more emphasized in this particular NEP. Setting up of new quality higher education institutes has been made easier. Basically, the process. We have very maybe difficult or complex processes to establish a new higher education institute or any sort of educational institute. So I think that can be made easy so that more and more people, more and more entrepreneurs, more and more even industrialists should come forward and they can start uh, the higher education institute so that they can maybe the quality of the education can be improved because they can invest more in the education. Social education zone for disadvantaged regions. Uh, Even today also, there are certain disadvantaged places or districts where government is trying to establish or provide, trying to provide more funds for the education. But I think in this particular NEP, it would be taken care more seriously. National Institute for Pali, Persian, and Prakrit. These are languages which are on the verge of losing their existence, and that's why there are a lot of things written in these languages. A lot of literature is available in these languages, so there is need to uh, maybe their existence is important for us, and that's why I think there should be an institute which will work on those languages. National Education Technology Forum would be there. Then MHRD, all of you know that now MHRD is not MHRD, it would be Ministry of Education. Of Indian knowledge system, languages, cultures, and values. These are very important four aspects. So focus would be on literature, scientific vocabulary of Indian languages. Then language faculty, research on languages. Research on languages is very important. Strengthening national institutes for promotion of classical languages and literature. There are certain institutes, but I think those would be strengthened in this NEP, under this NEP. Indian Institute of Transliteration and Interpretation would be there. There is some institute in, basically it is CDAC subsidiary at present, that is working on Indian translation and transliteration, right? So this translation and transliteration is very important. Reason is that a lot of literature is available in different, maybe in English or even in, as far as India is concerned, we have different languages, and the literature, huge amount of literature is available in different languages. If you consider, say, for example, Europe, so the literature is available, information is available in their own language. So this translation and transliteration is very important. Even if the information is available in English, uh, all our citizens are not aware, or they are not very fluent with the English. Many of them do not understand the English. So can it be made available in our own language? Because if you go further, you will find that they are suggesting that the education up to sixth standard should be in mother tongue. So, and even today, for diploma also, the MSBT is providing the option to teach in Marathi for first year students. So whatever is available in your own language, mother tongue, I think it is easy to understand and easy to interpret. Cultural awareness of Indian knowledge system that would be provided. Promoting traditional arts, basically that's Lok Vidya, and higher education institutes or schools or school complexes to have artists in residence. I think that's another angle, another aspect of this NEP. This is important for us basically because we are uh, running the courses of technology, engineering and technology. So use of technology in education planning, teaching, learning and assessment, administration and management, regulation, that is self-disclosure, just I have mentioned in the previous PPT, and a minimum human interface. So ultimately, if it is made maybe automated or automation is brought into all these aspects, maybe planning, teaching, learning, assessment, administration, then ultimately I think it will become more easy, and it would be even the time required for all these things would be less if automation is a part of all these aspects. So at present also, teaching learning we are using technology, maybe last 2 years. Assessment also we are using technology. Of course, there are some problems with that, but I think people will work on it. And due to this, maybe a pandemic situation or whatever we learned in last 2 years, lessons we learned due to this pandemic, I think most of us, they have adopted the technology and they are now using the technology on regular basis. And that we have to continue henceforth also in future also, because unless and until we make use of technology, it may not be possible to produce the outcomes which are intended to, or we are expecting from our maybe students. So increasing access of disadvantaged group, maybe the education as on today is not that much accessible to disadvantaged groups. So it is to be made easily available and accessible to disadvantaged group. Say for example, last 2 years, there are no actual classes are happening, and for disadvantaged groups, even though if we decided to provide the education to disadvantaged groups, so there are no technological tools available to provide the education. So ultimately, there would be a more focus on developing such tools which would be helpful to these disadvantaged groups. There would be a Divyang friendly education software. Uh, there are few softwares, but I think at national level, care would be taken in this under this NEP. E-content in regional languages. Even engineering education, last year EICT has come with providing education in your local language. So in Maharashtra, I think few colleges. In Pune, there are two colleges. They have started providing education in Marathi, engineering education in Marathi. So it's not very new because many countries in the Europe, they are providing education, even engineering education in their own languages. So ultimately, I think it would be more impactful and effective. That is my personal opinion, of course. Virtual labs, you are aware of it because many times it happens that there are some specialized laboratories which require huge amount of funds or investment, and maybe educational institutes may not be able to raise such bulk amount of funds, and they may not be able to purchase these equipments. So is it possible to provide virtual access to such laboratories wherever they are? Maybe there could be in some IITs or some premier institutes. There would be well-equipped laboratories which has a spending of crores rupees. Can those laboratories made available to our students at least to perform experiments virtually, not actually? So that is one of the concept of virtual laboratory. Of course, I know that these virtual laboratories may not be very useful in for all the branches. If I am talking about engineering, but wherever it is more useful, more suitable, I think that can be used. National Education Technology Forum, there could be then digitally equipped schools, teachers and students. This is very important as far as our colleges are concerned, ourselves are concerned, and our students are concerned. So students, schools, and teachers should be digitally equipped. I think we are digitally equipped as on today also, but still a lot of improvement is required. So that can be taken care by this. Then school education, what is suggested? Universalization of early childhood care education, that is called as the ECCE. National mission on foundational literature, literacy and numeracy. Then the pattern now, what is the difference? Pattern is like this: 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. What is the current pattern? What is current pattern?
10 plus 2 plus 4.
Yes.
10 plus 2 plus
3.
3, sir.
3 or 4. Correct. Okay. So now it would be changed, and accordingly pedagogical structure need to be developed. Curriculum to integrate 21st century skills, mathematical thinking and scientific temper. When it comes to scientific temper, I think the research component would be more research component would be included in our especially the college education, right? Mathematical thinking, there could be more focus on mathematics also, because if we really wanted to maybe develop our students logically very strong, then I think mathematics is one of the foundations of mathematics is one area where I think our students should develop. No rigid separation. Just initially I told that between arts, science, between curricular and extracurricular activities, between vocational and academic streams. I think many of the boundaries will collapse due to this NEP 2020. We have arts, we have science, we have commerce. These are traditional. In engineering, we have a number of branches, and these branches are very, there are walls between these branches. So if I am studying, say, for example, computer engineering, so I have to study only computer engineering subjects. Even though computer engineering and information technology, they are treated two different courses. If I am teaching to computer engineering, I may not be eligible to teach in information technology or may not be eligible, maybe eligible for getting selected. But in fact, in our system also, in diploma system, computer engineering, those who have been appointed uh, lecturers in computer engineering, they are teaching only computer engineering, right? So I think those boundaries will definitely, they either it will weaken or they may be collapsed also in many of the cases. Uh, Especially their vocational and academic streams. I already mentioned that vocational would be everywhere in all sorts of education, in all walks of life. Education of gifted children. There may be very good in particular area, in sports, maybe in research, in some other area. These are the gifted children. And due to our current education system, they may not be able to excel much in that particular area. If somebody is very good in sports, so especially the parents will seek you, okay, you complete first your education and then you can focus on your whatever you wanted to pursue in the sports. And by that time, I think students may lose the interest, or maybe if you consider their age also, they may be good or develop better way in sports at early age. So I think if they are very good in a particular area, they should get the environment to develop, and that can be provided or that is proposed in this NAP. Gender inclusion fund there should be. Then KGBVs, you might be aware of it. Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalay. It has been established. This scheme is established started in 2004. So basically, this is for these are the schools established for girl students who are living in some special areas and belonging to maybe SC, ST, OBC, and minority. It was initially maybe up to 10th, but some of the places it is already started up to 12th grade. So these are the schools where I think the girl students of these categories will take admission, and it starts with 6th standard to 10th standard. It was initially, now it could be 6th standards to 12th standards. It is already started. Reduction in curriculum to core concepts. If you see at present the curriculum, revising the curriculum or developing the curriculum, so we are just trying to include everything in the curriculum. Lot of things which are we never think about the students. We never think about the time. What is the time students and even we people are getting to teach this. And especially we do not bother about whether students will really understand within this particular span of time. Because we have 6 units for standard system of syllabus. And only we teach, but we never bother about whether they learn or not. So I think both are important. We should teach, we should not only teach, we have to take care whether they are learning or not. And when it happens, at that time, I think education would be more interesting. People, especially students, will not lose the interest in the education. So that is what I think the core concept would be reduced. The weightage in the syllabus of core concept would be reduced, and there could be more things, maybe vocational education or skill based education. The more component of these things would be included, so that the competency of our students will improve or will increase. Vocational integration from class 6 onwards, it is planned. New national curriculum framework for ECE, school teachers and adult education, that is proposed. Board examination will be of low stakes based on knowledge application. Based on knowledge application. I think this is very good move. If you see today's scenario, always we blame to each other. When it comes to maybe a diploma education or a degree education, we are saying that the education system, maybe starting from first standard or lower KG, I think they are teaching or our students are becoming only memory oriented, right? So ultimately, whenever they will acquire some education, say for example, SSC, HSC or diploma or degree, whether they are really able to apply the knowledge, whatever they have gained during that particular education. So we should not only think about a professional education, maybe a diploma or degree, but even somebody is, say, for example, it's SSC in previous current scenario, I'm saying. So there should be the objectives should be defined, right? We are talking about OBE nowadays, right? Outcome based education. So for every education, when there is a exit, I think there should be OBE should be taken care, right? So outcome, we have to always think whether outcome has been achieved or not. Okay. So that's, I think there would be a little change in the board examination. So it would be based on more knowledge application. If you see the BT levels, Bloom's taxonomy, there are 6 levels, especially for diploma. First 3 levels we are trying to incorporate, and maybe for degree all 6 levels. So our students should be able to apply these 6 levels or should be developed in such a way that they may be able to use this all 6 levels or apply 6 levels. So the first, of course, it is just remembering. Second is understanding, and third is apply. So whatever they have gained, they should be able to apply. So more focus would be on apply. Medium of instruction till at least grade 5. Till at least grade 5, and preferably till grade 8 and beyond in home language or mother tongue. That is proposed, right? Then 360-degree holistic progress card of a child. At present, I think the progress card of a child, whether it is a HSC, SSC, diploma, degree, postgraduate, this card, progress card, is always in terms of marks obtained in examination. No other factor, no other parameter is getting reflected in progress card of a student. I think that is very necessary, and unless and until you identify the other parameters of a students, you may not be able to what qualities, other qualities, maybe in education, student might be he's doing well, or may not be doing well, but there could be few students, specialized students, who might be very good in other areas, right? So those would be identified, and all these parameters will uh, will be evaluated and given some importance, some weightages to all those parameters. So basically, it is overall development of a human being. Tracking students' progress for achieving learning outcomes. National Assessment Center, there should be a PARAK. You can search this PARAK, what it is. NTA, you might be aware of this, NTA to offer common entrance test. Already NTA has started conducting some of the test. I think it will conduct a lot of tests henceforth. Book promotion policy and digital libraries, transparent online, self-disclosure for public oversight and accountability. Sorry. What is the vision? Build a society with a sense of rights, duties, and bond with country by instilling skills, knowledge, and values in education, which reflects as a true global citizen. Purpose is we have to prepare good global citizens, right? So a focus is overall development of the students so that they will become good citizens, global citizens. They will be good citizens, but they should be good global citizens. So there are basically three areas here you can find: equitable, equitable and vibrant knowledge society. We wanted to produce through this NEP 2020. Orientation towards rights, duties, and values. Develop a global mindset by instilling skills, values in education. I think these are three pillars, important pillars, on which your NEP, new education system, would be based. What are the key principles? So holistic development of a student on cognitive as well as conceptual parameters by use of technology and innovation. This is very important. The innovation word is brought in NAP. So students holistic development, then flexible learning environment, no hard separation between vocational and academics. Nowadays, I think vocational education is different. There is a vocational ministry, separate vocational ministry. So there should not be hard separation between these because all these should work collaboratively. They should collaborate. Then extensive use of technology, just I mentioned, critical thinking and creativity. This is very important to encourage logical decision making and innovation. Our students need to have a critical thinking and creativity. They should not do what is available. They should do uh, maybe, or they may think in a different fashion. What is innovation basically? It is not doing different things, rather it is doing things differently. Innovation is. Something is maybe there is a problem, so solution is available, but we wanted to find a solution in a different fashion, better solution. So that could be, I think, the innovation. Emphasizes conceptual understanding. That is very true and that is very important because there are a lot of deliberations, discussions happening across the globe. Especially we used to share, or maybe corporates or companies used to say whatever you are teaching to the students is not really useful for us, and then we will claim something, and there are lots of unnecessary discussions. Basically, the role of the educational institutes is not teaching or not providing only skill sets. First of all, we have to uh, create, or we have to prepare students who will have very good, very strong conceptual understanding of different subjects. I think that is very much important. If you see the IITs, maybe a premier institutes in India, you will find that their focus is on conceptual understanding of every subject. So ultimately, it is not the case that only we should provide the skill set, include new technologies, teach them new technologies. Unless and until they are strong, conceptually strong, they may not be able to use this, whatever we are giving them, skill sets and technologies, technological tools. They may be able to use, but they may not be able to use this judiciously and effectively. And for that purpose, I think concepts are always important. Respect for diversity and the local context, that could be a part of this new education policy. Right. So inclusion in curriculum, pedagogy, and policy. Right. So this is basically reimagining vocational education. More emphasis is on vocational education, and vocational education in every field, everywhere. I'm not talking about only engineering education or professional education. So vocational education could be part of all sorts of education. So challenge is basically extremely low access to vocational education at present. How much it is? Less than 5%. Less than 5% Indian workforce in age group have access to vocational education. Now, it is to be improved. There could be skill labs and hub and spoke model. I need not to tell what is this. So skill labs can be established. Separate skill labs can be established. Nowadays, I think we are providing skills uh, in colleges. It is expected that even companies are saying that, okay, these skills, when a student is passing out diploma, so diploma students are not having this XYZ skills. And the irony is that, see, if you really wanted to consider the requirements of different companies, every company will have a different requirement and requirement of different skills. So it may not be possible to include all these skills or skill sets, subjects related to skill sets in the syllabus, and then when we will focus on the fundamental concepts. So ultimately, there could be some school skill labs which will provide on top of this. They will provide the skills to the students. I think that is the idea. Then, so alignment of Indian standards with ISCO. So Indian standards will be aligned with international standard classification of occupation. Uh, Basically, when our students are going abroad for the education, there should be equivalence of the degree. That is very much important. So whatever we will develop, whatever education policy we will prepare, it should be at par, so that they did not to do some additional courses, prerequisite courses. Sometimes it happens if it is not equivalent, right? And another thing is that whenever I think the credit transfer should happen, at that time there should be trust. Even all universities should feel that, okay, whatever credits these people have gained, I think that those credits are at par with our credits, so that there would be acceptance to these credits, and ultimately hybrid sort of degrees can be given to the students, or they can learn some portion here and remaining portion there, or vice versa. It is quite possible. Sometimes it may happen that nowadays we are thinking that only our students will go to US and other countries for study purpose. In future, it may happen that students from other countries may come to India uh, because our education system is having a history, right? So if it is made in a such a fashion, developed in a such a fashion, definitely why others should not follow us, why we should follow always others. So gain social status of vocational education. This is important. Integration of vocational education in mainstream education in all educational institutes already mentioned. Then there would be a formation of NCIV, National Committee for Integration of Vocational Education, how it can be integrated in the existing education or whatever education system will come up. So how it could be seamlessly, it can be integrated with the education system. That be taken, that can be or should be taken care by NCIV. Emphasis of dignity of labor. So creating value to Indian arts and artisanship by including it into the vocational education and enabling every student learn vocations or vocational education. Collaboration of education institutes. Educational institutes should collaborate. and there should be incubation centers will be set up. This is very important. So incubation centers will be set up in HEIs, that is higher education institutes, in partnership with industries. This is very good move. Don't know how successful it would be, but definitely I think industries should come forward for setting such maybe HEIs or such centers of incubation, because this incubation can provide or can maybe develop, can create more and more entrepreneurs, right? The next slide is basically, of course, it is vocationalization of the education. So develop skill-based mainstream education system with indigenously developed content and curriculum and making it accessible to everyone by introducing different. Can you please, somebody's mic is on.
घुले सर माइक बंद करा तुमचा. घुले सर, can you mute your mic please? तिथून घुले सर प्लीज माइक बंद करा तुमचा.
Okay.
Yes.
So there are few important aspects we need to emphasize on or focus on. Practice-based curriculum, skill gap analysis, open distance learning, where vocational will come into picture. I think these are the factors, these are the parameters need to be identified, studied and analyzed. And after that, this vocationalization, where the vocational education is to be integrated, that can be decided. So that is skill gap analysis needs to be done. What are the gaps? What, say, our diploma students should possess these skills. But if they are not able to do so, then what are the gaps needs to be identified, and accordingly vocational education or skill sets can be introduced. Open distance learning mode, that is important. There could be open learning institutes, universities also going to be established in near future. Exposure to vocational education. So by 2020, 50% of the learners shall have exposure to vocational education. Then Lok Vidya, knowledge developed in India to be made accessible to students. That is called as a Lok Vidya. Whoever is developing some knowledge, I think that should be made available. It should be open to all. Should not be somebody's right. So skill framework, the NSQF, I think all of you are aware of it, to be detailed further for each discipline. Nowadays may not be used for all the disciplines, but can be, especially the traditional education can be used. This should be applied. And vocational craft, so intensive opportunity for students of grades 6 to 8 under vocational experts, like maybe a carpenters, maybe gardeners, potters, artists, and so on. Maybe if somebody can, after having such a vocational skill sets, they can practice it, they can be entrepreneurs, small entrepreneurs, they can start their own firms, businesses. NEP 2020 offers opportunities for ASTP. ASTP, what is Alliance of Skill Training Partners and members in schools, right? So there are some figures. Presently, about 10,000 of 21,271 CBSE affiliated schools in India and 228 schools in 25 foreign countries covered under Samagra Shiksha. In addition, schools under 52 state education boards would also be available under this Samagra Shiksha. What are the facilities, or how it is going to help to the schools and this ASTP? Okay, extended skill delivery to class 6 to 8 under NSQF plus. NSDC hasn't been given a role. Along with it, make a case for link between industry and academic institutes. So there should be a strong link between academic and industry. Rather, it should be a collaboration. It could be a collaboration between industries and academic institutes. Existing PMKK and PMKVY can collaborate with local schools for running vocational courses by leveraging existing infrastructure on hub and spoke model or co-sharing model. We have maybe a infrastructure available somewhere, but that is not available to others, and this infrastructure is lying idle many times. If you see the maybe utilization of this infrastructure could be 10%, 20%. It means that 80% of the time it is just lying idle. And can it be used by other people, other institutes? I think that is it's very important, and that's why there should be a grid concept. Where I think you might be aware of now MSEB talking about grid, even computer and IT, that there is a grid computing. So computing power is available somewhere in bulk, but not available to other entities or other institutes. So can that computing power be made available to others also on maybe a pay basis? But I think that payment should be very less, and best example could be a cloud computing, where I think nowadays people need not to, or institutes need not to maybe purchase very specialized hardware and even the maybe a costly softwares also. So those softwares and hardwares can be hired on need basis. Whenever you want to use it, you can hire it, and whenever it is not needed, I think that is you can dislink. So that is very important concept. STP can function as an advisor for state boards for implementation, consultation, including developing aptitude test, and so on. Engaging
Abstractions only.
engaging in training of vocational educators and building a network, including master trainers. So training needs to be provided.
Yes.
Who is
Yeah, that's
राहुल आठवले, तुमचा माइक म्यूट करा. झालं सर.
so move towards higher level skill trainings to build on school way. Okay, so maybe a training is emphasized. The website is given there, you can search on that. UGC is issuing guidelines for apprenticeship embedded under higher education for all streams under credit scheme. There should be certain credits given to the apprenticeship. As on today also there is apprenticeship board, And engineering and diploma students, there are certain seats reserved. But I think very few students are taking advantage of those facilities made available. There are lots of companies, around 3,000 companies are on board who are providing apprenticeship. But I think there are no takers. That is the irony. So ultimately, I think that should be more strengthened and it should be made compulsory so that student will get maybe on-field experience or actual experience working on projects. ASTP and partners can engage in design and integration of school component with mainstream education, train and provide a pool of vocational facilities for higher education institutes. ASTP can facilitate collaboration of members with universities and affiliated colleges at executive partners. TP can be facilitators as third-party agency acting on behalf of corporate for apprenticeship and internship and OGT. Internship is, I think, should be focused on. So that is the focus of this particular. Now, what are the outcomes? This policy is decided. Nice document has been prepared, and now maybe the implementation is started or going to start. Now, what are the outcome? What we are expecting from this particular NEP 2020? So the first outcome is universalization from ECCE to secondary education by 2030. By 2030, aligning with the SDG G4, but that is, I think, the most important. Attaining foundational learning and numeracy skills through national mission by 2025. Attaining foundational learning and numeracy skills through national mission by 2025. 100% GER in preschools to secondary level by 2030. If you see today, I think there is a lot of dropout. Maybe a primary school there is a less, but secondary school there would be more. Then there may be higher secondary there would be more, and maybe in professional education there would be huge amount of dropout. Means these students who are getting pass out, they are not opting for the professional education. That way you can say it is a dropout. So that is to be improved or made 100% in preschools and secondary schools. At least our students should learn up to secondary school. So everybody should become learned. Everybody should become literate. Learned, I will not say learned, but should become a literate. I think that is the ultimate focus, ultimate aim of this NEP. Bring back 2 crore out of school children. That is the figure at present. 2 crore out of school children. They do not go to school. They could be, reasons could be anything, but I think all these students should be brought in mainstream of education. That is, I think, the biggest challenge, and that is to be addressed by this NEP. Teachers to be prepared for assessment reforms by 2023. This is very important. Teachers to be prepared for assessment reforms. I always used to say we are very good when we are really preparing the syllabus. So we are preparing very nice draft of the syllabus. Take maybe engineering, any subject of engineering. If you see on paper, I think syllabus is very nice. If you see the curricula of maybe any university across the globe, you will find our curriculum is at par with any university across the globe. But I think we are good in preparing good syllabus. We are good in teaching learning also to some extent, but we are not that much good in evaluation. in evaluation. So ultimately, evaluation is a tool, it is a metric which will really tell the quality of the education you have provided. Syllabus is good, teaching learning is good, but really whether it has been percolated, what you wanted to really give to the students has been given. So there should be some measure, there should be some metric, and metric is assessment. And the assessment as on today we have examination system. So I think that is to be more focused on whatever the way we are evaluating the students. Should be changed. There would be major changes in the evaluation system also. The evaluation may be carried out in a different on different parameters. So I think that is need to be done. Or our fraternity should be prepared for these reforms by 2023, means next year. So 1 year ahead. Inclusive and equitable education system by 2030. Inclusive and equitable. So education to everybody. That is equitable basically. Education to everybody. So just now, if you see, there are 2 crore students who are not able to get the access to the education as on today. So once that is the biggest challenge, and if when we would be able to bring all such students, children, or provide the access to education to such children, I think then it would be really this education or NEP can be appreciated or would be appreciated. Board exams to test core concepts and application of knowledge. It would be based on 2 parameters, core concepts and application of knowledge. Every child will come out of school adept in at least one skill. At least one skill. There would be a pool of skills. So every child should possess whatever education they are taking, should possess. I am saying multiple exits are there. So at any exit, it is expected that a student or child or children should possess something, some skill sets. So I think that is to be taken care. Common standards for learning. Right. Public and private schools. Common standards for learning in public and private schools. I think at present there is a disparity. Many of us or many people, they do not send their children to public schools. Maybe in our Maharashtra, Jilla Parishad schools, these are public schools. So we do not send our children to public schools. We used to send our children to private school because there is a disparity in the quality. So this disparity should be reduced or should be eradicated so that maybe we can even the people from parents from higher income group, they can send their students to public school. I think that is the aim or objective. Now there are 3 PPTs I will this is now Maharashtra state has been state of Maharashtra has established a task force in 2019 under the chairmanship of Dr. Raghunath Mashelkar. You might be aware of Dr. Raghunath Mashelkar. And what they are suggested, where we stand, or what is our plan of Maharashtra about this NEP 2020, right? So many points I think he will. So basically they have identified, or it is well known challenges. There are 5 challenges they are talking about as far as Maharashtra state education is concerned. And the first challenge is in Maharashtra is moving from right to education to education for all. I think right to education, from right to education, right education, and from right education to education for all. So I think that is the policy says. So Maharashtra, this committee, this task force has submitted their report to government of Maharashtra also. Right. If required, I can send this report also. So it translates itself into an all-round inclusion of have-nots. There are many who do not have access to education. So inclusion of have-nots, where this section of the excluded society gets an access to high-quality education that is affordable and accessible. The second challenge is it is single-minded pursuit of excellence, both in teaching and learning. You have to develop pursuit of excellence, both in teaching and research, not learning, teaching and research. So as I already mentioned, focus is on more on research also. So there is a seamless connection between education, research, and innovation in all world-class universities across the globe. So that should happen in our India also, or in Maharashtra also. The third challenge they have observed is world-class governance. And we may be lagging here. So good governance provides an unshakable and robust foundation leading to a long-run stability and sustainability. We might be declaring many initiatives, but we never think about the sustainability and stability of those initiatives. So I think we should think about the stability and sustainability also. So that is, I think, one of the challenge we are facing in our education system at present, and that needs to be addressed, and that has been identified by the task force of government of Maharashtra. The fourth one was the challenge of innovation in education, and conversely, education in innovation. This is a very important challenge. Innovation in education and education in innovation. Both we are lagging, right? We do not really try to bring innovation in education, as well as we do not have education of innovation also, right? Education of innovation. And I think both aspect needs to be addressed very seriously and sincerely. So look at the academic changes that are happening around us due to advances in ICT. We should look around and we have to observe the changes and we have to adopt the changes. Now to adopt the changes, I think we need both. We need innovation in education and we need to understand what is innovation first. Then only we would be able to bring it in the education. Data, voice, and video will be delivered with the already existing 4G and the imminent approval of 5G in India. So ultimately, technology is changing, and we have to adopt that technology, and we have to bring that technology in education also. The processes of self-learning, interactive learning, and lifelong learning will undergo a sea change with all these paradigm shifts. Due to this NAP, I think there will be complete paradigm shift. Right? It's not equivalent and many other things. I think it's a complete change in the education system. And whenever there are such maybe changes, bulk changes or paradigm changes, at that time, I think always becomes very challenging to implement it. So achieving peaks of excellence in research means having continuous thrust on not only working at the frontiers of research, but we ourselves creating new frontiers. We should be able to create. We should not follow others. Rather, I mentioned earlier also, rather by others should not follow us. That should be the philosophy. This means we will always need to have an aggressive and a relentless thrust on being ahead of the curve. We should be ahead of the curve. Or in other words, doing research that will help Maharashtra lead, not follow. Right. So that is, I think these are the 5 challenges on which the major focus of Maharashtra education policy would be there in future. This task force have established or have appointed 9 different subcommittees. And these such subcommittees, their focus of this task force was on 18 parameters. And those 18 parameters are listed here. So the first is the quality universities and colleges. That is the first important aspect. So new and forward-looking vision for India's higher education system. Then areas detailed out for restructuring and consolidation. We have to restructure the education system and consolidate it. Holistic and multidisciplinary education, optimal learning environments and student support, motivated, energized and capable faculty, equity and inclusion, teacher education, special focus is given to the teacher education because when we are talking about a lot of skill sets and the technologies and technological tools, I think the education to teacher, continuous education to teacher is a must. And for that purpose, I think Teachers Training Institute is also established by Government of Maharashtra in Pune, especially for technical education. Or reimagining vocational education, quality academic research, transforming regulatory system in higher education, effective governance and leadership of higher education institutes, professional education, emphasis would be more on professional education as far as Maharashtra is concerned, adult education and lifelong learning. There is no much focus as on today on adult education and lifelong learning. Promotion of Indian languages, arts and culture, technology use and integration. This is very important as far as this audience is concerned because we are the faculty members from different technical educational institutes. So use of technology and integration of technology in existing systems is most important. We might be using technology in isolation, but we have a lot of legacy systems available. Now, how we can integrate a new technological systems. Right. So there are systems in place and we have to integrate good tools, technological tools in existing systems so that systems will learn seamlessly. Promotion of, online and digital education. So maybe due to this pandemic in last 2 years, we went for online and digital education. But now it could become or it can into NAP, that is online and digital education. So I already mentioned that there would be online online universities. So those universities will conduct complete education online and they will provide the degrees which would be treated equivalent to the degree provided by regular universities. That is going to happen. Then strengthening CABE, already I told about this is the central board of education. Then financing affordable quality education for all, education for all. Right. And the last is this. Uh, this task force set up by government of Maharashtra. They have suggested different parameters. Just I listed those parameters. These are the 9 committees, subcommittees, which worked under this workforce. A lot of very, I think, reputed persons are working in these committees, and they have uh, prepared their recommendations, submitted to the this main committee headed by Raghunath Mashalkar task force. And based on those recommendations of these 9 subcommittees, they have prepared some of the points from those reports I have just extracted and just presented in front of you. So these are the committees: restructuring committee, curriculum committee, committee for teacher education, committee for governance, good governance, committee for digital education, committee for academic research and vocational education, committee for inclusion and equity. Inclusion means education to all. Committee for languages and arts, and committee for finance. So these were the 9 committees, and in each committee there were many experts working. They have studied the current scenario, and accordingly they have recommendations submitted to task force, and task force has prepared a report which is submitted to government of Maharashtra, which is completely based on NAP 2000, 2020. So that is all from my side. I tried my level best to provide more and more information. There could be less uh, discussion, but due to time constraints, I could bring these things in front of you. I hope that you might have enjoyed it. So thank you for listening. This is basically the committee, or this is a task force, Dr. K. Kasturi Rangan committee. There are 20 people in this particular task force. So that's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Honorable Dr. Garje sir. A very elite professor, a great educationist. You have presented a micro perspective as well as the macro perspective of NEP 2020. You presented the cornerstones of this national education policy. What are the cornerstones? What are the core values? And also the holistic view of this National Education Policy 2020. It was really an intellectual treat. You have unfolded the various aspects of this national education policy. We are very, very far. May I tell my participants that we are very lucky to have a rare uh, academician and a good administrator as our principal. Let me express this very sincerely to the august audience. And now our session is open for question answers.
Thank you very much, sir.
If there are any questions, 5 minutes for QA.
Sir, one
Yeah.
question remains, which is of all of our interest. In this new education policy 2020, where we stand
Where we stand.
Yeah.
आपल्याला काय करायचं आहे, कुठं
I-
शिकवायचं आहे, काय रोल करायचा आहे.
I was expecting this question from somebody. See,
Sir,
this
video चालू ठेवा.
task force has submitted the report. Task force established by Government of Maharashtra. And fortunately, our Director of Technical Education was member secretary of this task force. So I think the details are not known as yet, but definitely I think it would be taken care. It might have been taken care. So I will go through the complete report, and whatever information I will get, I will share to all the faculty members, all people.
Any more question, please? There are many inquisitive participants on this platform, our participants. ज्यांना कोणाला विचारायचं असेल त्यांचं स्वागत आहे. आपले कोणाला काही विचारायचं आहे? आपले शिंदे सर आहेत वर्कशॉप सुपरिंटेंडंट अमृत वाहिनी पॉलिटेक्निक संगमनेर. शिंदे सर आहेत का सध्या?
हॅलो सर.
शिंदे सर, तुम्हाला सांगायला आनंद वाटतो की आमच्या आदरणीय प्राचार्यांनी काही वर्ष संगमनेर येथे इंजिनिअरिंग कॉलेज येथे त्यांनी घालवलेली आहेत.
हो सर, ओळखतो मी गर्जे सरांना.
हा. अच्छा. बरं. ठीक आहे. तर मला वाटतं आपलं पुढच्या सेशनला आता थोडाच वेळ राहिलेला आहे आणि मी आमच्या आदरणीय प्राचार्य नारायण कोणीतरी सर विचारा, हात वर केलाय आपण.
सर नमस्कार सर.
नमस्कार.
सर मी गव्हर्नमेंट पॉलिटेक्निक जालनातून बोलतोय, प्राध्यापक भोपरे, मेकॅनिकल लेक्चरर.
बोला.
सर मला हे विचारायचं की एनईपी मध्ये डिप्लोमा एज्युकेशनचं काय भवितव्य काय असतं?
आत्ताच प्रश्न मला वाटतं विचारला, त्याचं उत्तरही दिलं नाही. बरोबर. डिप्लोमा एज्युकेशनचं भविष्य टास्क फोर्स जो आपला एस्टॅब्लिश झाला होता त्यांनी त्याच्यावरती एक रिपोर्ट तयार केलेला आहे. आणि मी ते फक्त रिपीट करतो की त्या टास्क फोर्सचे जे मेंबर सेक्रेटरी होते ते आपले ऑनरेबल डायरेक्टर वागसर होते. त्यामुळे त्या टास्क फोर्सचा रिपोर्ट, कम्प्लीट रिपोर्ट इज नॉट विथ मी, बट आय थिंक ड्यू केअर वुड बी टेकन. That's what I am expecting. So whenever I will get more details, I will share with you.
Okay. Thank you.
सर मला एक प्रश्न
विचारा.
सर माझं नाव अरुण मिश्रा, मी राजश्री शाहू पॉलिटेक्निक पुणेवरून बोलतोय.
बोला.
मला सर जे इन्क्युबेशन सेल आपण इंट्रोड्यूस केलंय एज्युकेशन सेक्टर मध्ये, तर त्या इन्क्युबेशन सेल मध्ये एक्झॅक्ट गव्हर्नमेंटला काय अपेक्षित आहे?
इन्क्युबेशन सेल मध्ये गव्हर्नमेंटला काय अपेक्षित आहे? अच्छा. इन्क्युबेशन
म्हणजे त्या इन्क्युबेशन सेलच्या पॉलिसी
वगैरे सगळ्या नंतर येतील, बरोबर आहे ना. हा फक्त आता ड्राफ्ट तयार झालेला आहे. इम्प्लिमेंटेशन पॉइंट ऑफ व्ह्यू, लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स विल कम ॲट लेटर स्टेज. इन्क्युबेशन मध्ये एक्सपेक्टेड काय असतं की तिथे विद्यार्थ्यांनी प्रत्यक्ष काही डेव्हलपमेंट वरती काम करायला पाहिजे, बरोबर आहे. काही असे प्रोजेक्ट्स आहेत इन हाऊस डेव्हलपमेंट जे म्हणतो आपण. इट कुड बी सॉफ्टवेअर, कुड बी हार्डवेअर, कुड बी म्हणजे कुठल्याही ब्रँचचा विद्यार्थी असेल किंवा मल्टी डिसिप्लिनरी एखादा प्रोजेक्ट असेल, त्याच्यावरती त्यांनी त्या इन्क्युबेशन सेंटरमध्ये सर्व फॅसिलिटी प्रोव्हाइड करून ते विद्यार्थी तिथे काम करतील आणि त्यातून एखादं प्रॉडक्ट बाहेर येईल असं एक्सपेक्टेड आहे. प्रॉडक्ट बाहेर आलं म्हणजे हे विद्यार्थी दे कॅन बिकम एंटरप्रेनर्स, दे कॅन स्टार्ट, ते कॅन म्हणजे ते कमर्शियलाइज करू शकतात ते प्रॉडक्ट आणि त्याचं मॅन्युफॅक्चरिंग सुरू करू शकतात. दॅट इज द बेसिक पर्पज ऑफ इन्क्युबेशन.
चालेल. सर्व participants, now we have reached the end of the session. I once again very gratefully express our gratitude to our honorable principal, who has very studiedly presented the topic in front of all of us. Thank you once again, sir. Thank you all.
So thank you very much, Sakalkale sir, and thank
Yes,
you
sir.
all participants.
May I just inform our participants that the next session will be starting at 4 o'clock. तुम्हाला थोडा वेळ देतोय 4 ते 5 पर्यंत राहील आणि व्हेरी एमिनंट पर्सन फ्रॉम इंडस्ट्री हेक्झॅगॉन पुणे येथील डॉक्टर गणेश सोनी, ज्यांनी बिट्स पिलानीवरनं एमटेक केलंय आणि IIT वरनं PhD करून ग्लोबल एक एक्सपोजर असलेली व्यक्ती आपल्या समोर करिक्युलम फॉर डिजिटल रिव्होल्युशन हा टॉपिक प्रेझेंट करणार आहेत. आपल्या सगळ्यांना मी विनंती करतो की आपण सगळ्यांनी 3:55 ला जॉईन व्हावं. धन्यवाद सगळ्यांना. थँक्यू.
मला